Hello, hello. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. So from Finland, Helsinki, Vallila, OP. So me, Tomi Nurmi, product owner of test automation and virtualization platforms at OP. So maybe small anecdote. I started with Remote Framework when the IDE, so-called IDE, was browser editor and HTML table, so roughly a little bit less than 20 years ago. So, but that's about me. Hey, I'm trying to tell you a story, partially about our platform, what it means, what it is, and partially about some findings about that. And to understand my story, a little bit about the company, OP. So it's a big bank and insurance company in small country of Finland. But more even, I think these figures on there are the interesting parts. So probably even many of the Finns don't know that OP is one of the biggest R&D houses in Finland. So although it's a bank, but it's a really big R&D house. So, and we are providing the platform for whole deal, all of the teams. And when we was starting, we were hired, me and the team were hired to bring OP to the world of test automation. And the situation where we started is roughly there. So manual testing house, and general thinking was that test automation in general is impossible at OP. Partially because of the test data collation and whatnot, environments are difficult, so many technologies and whatnot. And this is from 2016, one of the first captures of our data collected. That's a real figures, 220 test cases, automated test cases, the whole release radiator with all the couple of 3 teams actually. So that's where we kind of started back then. And we actually, at that time, we decided, as you can see from here, that we decided that test automation is something that's run by CI. So if you had something on your own machine or whatever, it doesn't count. And this slide is actually the actual, or less actual guidance that or our strategy file. We started communicating this stuff to the teams with these topics. And as you can see, they are already in these early days, we decided to do it in a platform manner. So is a service, is an asset, are important parts. So modularity, reusability, common libraries were the things that we thought that we need. Also, we decided that, okay, it's an asset, so it got to be reused in other environments by other teams. So we kind of turned it away so that it's we, it's not me. So we are doing this for the company, not for the person itself. And of course, one thing was the tooling. Robot Framework selected for this on automation things. So where we are now, roughly in numbers. So currently we run in a CI 4 to 5 million test cases every month. So, and in those, there's 45 million calls for our common libraries. So roughly 10 calls per each test case. And for roughly 4,000 unique test jobs are actually running those and having those libraries in. And of course, one big part is the Jenkins farm. And as you know, Jenkins is pretty difficult to maintain. So we have it as a service for the guys. It's one controller, 250 agents, Docker agents roughly, with roughly 9-second wait time for you start the testing. So, and this is kind of the idea. What we started was that you guys there in a business teams, you don't have to build the groundings and the kind of things related. You can start to concentrate on the business cases, on the actual test cases. So we provide the bells and whistles for that. And it turned out that the platform is actually twofolded. It's a soft part, so communication, guidance documents, good practices, onboarding, communication channels, demos, support, training, all that. And I think the really important stuff is the internal community. Because of the tech stuff, we had kind of one set. We were able to actually build living, really working internal community. That helps itself. So that's really valuable, I think, for this whole thing. The tech stuff, there's those libraries, and this is a simplification of everything that there are. But maybe one interesting stuff is this data reservation service. Because that was one of the reasons that people said that it's impossible to do the test automation in our domain, in our context. So we built in early days a setup where you can call or ask from this service the test data, the test user, reserve it from the free users. So the test data, test users were not hard-coded or are not hard-coded in your test cases. We fetch them from the service. So that's a good thing that we had there. Then there's some kind of list of picture of our documentation and the libraries. But the green one is interesting because that's one interesting thingy for the internal community and internal open source. So it's a tool for the teams to build their own libraries in an OP fashion, so that there's pipelines and things and related stuff there. Quickly about this Jenkins stuff. So it's a big farm, and it serves multiple technologies, all the things that we have in our on-prem setup. And the interesting part where I actually got those figures is that every test is sent to the metrics service. And this metrics service actually collects those every bits and piece from our setup, also various other data. And because it's in one data format, we can actually run those various analyses and data, so that's pretty interesting. So we call this whole thing in the early days as a warm jar project, matopurkki in Finnish. So meaning that it was rather difficult. Let's come back to that later. But I think the main success factors that I think are the first ones, the big ones are about the platform, about the area under topic here. The simple rule set that we made, I think that helped us to communicate and people understand what's the point. Then we really, with that kind of same platform, we were able to really reuse the test cases, sets in a different environment, and use the kind of technology across the company. Also, the platform provides currently the basic needs for majority of the guys. Of course, not everything, all the bells and whistles. The community, as mentioned, and then of course, because the platform, it's easy for us to generate the guidance, the documentation, and so forth, because there's not millions of things to have there. But the warm jar, so I think that was one of the biggest challenge. So we had to touch everything in OP's R&D at the end of the day. We were handling or touching the R&D processes on testing, development, even purchasing, what type of guys we should take in, what level of expertise we would expect, and that's actually getting more and more important because the thing is getting more and more complex. But that kind of made it really heavy, so that's part of the challenge part. And of course, as you understand, if we have one way, quite many don't agree. They want to have their way. And if we kind of would have everything, that would be kind of catastrophe. So it's constant discussion about this kind of what to have and what not to have, and could you do this and that. And of course, since we are a small team, platform team, so sometimes we are too slow to implement. The communication is really difficult. I don't know how many channels we do have where we actually communicate what we are doing. Info sessions, coffees, in demos, news sections, whatnot, and this community channel. Still we get the information that who are you? What are you doing? I didn't know. Okay, but yeah, as you know, communication is difficult. Also the kind of, since we are a big company, there's huge amounts of teams, I don't know, 100, so I don't know. And so there's quite a lot of developers. So it's really difficult to keep up with the kind of expertise. We got to work with that. And of course the technologies from 80s to nowadays. Reminds me the picture in a previous set. But this is something that I really would like to talk a little bit. Autonomy versus alignment. Because at least on my experience, we really need, at least in our company, alignment. And the platform actually provides quite a nice alignment as a kind of starter. But I think it's good to understand that in our domain, banking and so forth, the security is, of course, really important. So if someone is doing something on their own, will they remember to take care of all the bells and whistles and security? Maybe not. And it doesn't have anything to do with the level of the expertise, because they might just forget. There's so many things to do, so it's nice to have that in a package. And the big number of teams leads to big number of expertise variation, and as said, it's difficult. So the platform helps us, and the alignment helps us to kind of give the guidance for the guys and keep the levels and so forth. And also, if we would have all the flowers, our products are so long-lived. So if you think insurance or loan, you probably wouldn't want to have daily changing house loan. Probably not. So they are quite long things. So they quite often tend to outlast the teams. So that makes the problem. So if each of the teams actually invents their own freaking things, at the end of the day, it falls to us. And we need to maintain it. And if there would be tons of ways, technologies and things, it would be hell. And we have evidence on that really happen on security side, on the maintenance side and so forth. And my humble opinion is that not good. So if we have this kind of platform, it kind of helps us avoiding that chaos altogether. And on the other hand, the people aspect. So if you think that we have common table, there's some common things, common rules, common tools. The boarding process is simple. I just talked to one of the guys at OP who's just started and asked how it feels. And he said the word professional. And I was really like, yes. So thank you. But that's actually cool stuff. So it's easier for us to take the people in. But on the other hand, it's easier to move the talents between the projects because the table is the same. So of course, if you think that in the next project, totally new tools, everything is different, so it would be challenging. So it helps us. So this alignment, I think it's really good stuff. On the other hand, you can choose different, but I think if in the scope of this alignment, I think it's really important to understand that then there's a cost, and you need to pay that cost. You need to take care of the training and security and maintenance and whatnot. You need to take that package and deliver. On the other hand, the autonomy, I probably piece of people saying this, but the autonomy, I think it works nicely if you are in a hurry, you want to demo something, you want to start something fast, you need to grow fast, and if your products are short-lived and so forth, I think it's really, really good stuff. But my main message actually is this. As maybe you get the hang of my thinking, so we need both, for sure. But I think we really need to have them in balance and understand the differences and the benefits and what it brings. And I think the autonomy lives quite nicely inside the borders of the alignment. At least in our case, I sincerely believe in that. And this is maybe the takeaway of the whole thing. So you need to really think, at least I would think closely, what is actually the role of autonomy? What is the role of autonomy? When it makes sense, when it doesn't make sense. What are the risks involved in the case that everybody can do what they want to? It's fun and nice and cool, but we are not here because it's only fun and nice, but we are doing the business, and the business need to live, and the business need to do something meaningful. And of course, we were talking about the cost. we need to bear the cost. And as you know, as test automation professionals, maintenance is the killer. So you need to think that. All right. So of course, we didn't do this alone. So I think there's quite many OP persons today here and yesterday, even the business teams, participants. So of course we need those guys to understand, get the ideas and understand what they are doing. So thank you for you guys for helping us. Then of course we need all of the technology platforms that we have. We have really nice cooperation with those guys to make this platform to work and really do something meaningful. Of course, the QA guys, we need to have a close discussion with them to make this happen. And of course, we need then some team to really do the hard lifting. So that would be our quality management team. And we have a couple of guys here from our team. So if you could rise up, please, if possible. So thanks, guys. So probably if want to, you can ask also from them about this, how they feel. But this is some figures from our team. So 11 guys and girls, both for the test automation and virtualization platform. We do 260 software releases last year. So some releases. And of course, there's some other figures there we get quite nice feedback at the end, although we are kind of always saying no, wait, not always, but sometimes feels like that. And that is actually from our feedback query really some actual feedback. So that's about it. So I think what's next? Well, OP is going to Azure, so we do the platform there as well. And then I think for you guys to think, help us, the API first. It would be really cool to work on that, to get robot framework, the libraries and capabilities to really support API first approach. Get the APIs defined specs first and automated test cases from there generated, automated mocks and so forth to play around, maybe have a containers pre-installed for the designers, because as you know, you have probably met some designers, developers who don't agree using on robot framework. So maybe it would help them if we would provide easy setup, easy startup for them, something to think. Okay, we improve, of course, our platform. And then the last thing is something that we get a lot. Why we had this? Could we have this? So maybe we need to think an additional tool. I don't know what it is, because we really need to think what actually that would be. On what grounds? Should it be DP, API, UI, whatnot tool? On what languages? Java, Kotlin, JavaScript, Go, I don't know. So if I list those alone, let's have one tool for each. That would be roughly 10 tools already. So maybe not. And then to provide this kind of support, I don't know. Difficult discussion, but maybe we need to think. All right. Suurkumarrus. Questions?
Thank you, Tommy. Favorite band? It's probably some rap group.
Let's put it Beatles and Ozzy.
Okay, that's nice.
Difficult questions. There's so many of them.
Yeah. OP is one of the coolest companies in Finland, and I would say that even if they wouldn't be our customer. But excellent talk. Let's get some questions. First one.
Hello, my name is Perttu. Thanks for the presentation. I really sign up all those lines you said about this kind of platform thinking. When did you realize that this became a problem to you? Because I'm quite in the same phase in our company. We have multiple projects and it's quite, there is like one test automation engineer is assigned to one particular project and they build their own systems. So now we are in the phase that it's very hard to live with all that maintenance.
Yeah, I understand. I don't know when. It was somehow inbuilt. It's something that I picked up in my career. I don't know, 20 years more. I don't know, 25, 26. But it's some learning that I built. That it's kind of being in a situation where everything crashes and there's huge messes and even buy a tool from some guy and it doesn't work and takes 1 year to build. So somehow I think it built in me and us. And of course the guy who hired us to do it had the same vision. So
thank you.
There's one.
Hi, my name is Benny. About 10 or 11 years ago, I worked for a government organization in the Netherlands. And back then, they had a policy that unified functional tester was the holy grail. It was the only tool to be used. And it didn't work well. It demotivated people and it killed innovation. How do you ensure motivated people and innovation in the teams?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I'm a little bit afraid of that, of course, with the one tool selection. I think that's something that our team is trying to do. So we try to invent things, helpers. So the simplification of the platform, it's really simplification. So there's lots of tools, lots of things that we try to do to help on that. To make it easier as the API first thinking. So same thing. So how can we help and ease up the developers or the others' lives? So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hi, Markus from Vala. Great presentation. Thank you. Very impressive and professional and
Thank you.
level up. One thing about quality, I was wondering, how would you say that one could look at some kind of key performance indicator for quality in this kind of setup?
Difficult to say, but one example could be one of our common libraries. We build those libraries in such a way that they really work. They really do what it's meant to do. And when we distribute it to all, of course, we got quite many complaints that your library doesn't work. And actually, it happens to be that I would say that in 90 or 95% of the times, it's not the library. And we have actually, with these libraries that are built really good, we have found problems that otherwise the guy would have jumped over, invent something to, I don't know, I just go over it. So I don't know, maybe not a good answer for that, but on the other hand, thinking of all the data that we can collect with this, because every test case is run there, so we can do different analysis of how well we are doing, what's happening there, which areas are tested and so forth, and we are looking for actually even improvements on that area. Actually, I can say maybe that we are doing POC with the team scale. So let's see how it goes.
Doctor has a question.
Thanks for the great talk. I like your thoughts on autonomy versus alignment and how they match, because the research group I came from had too much autonomy. And I think it was because nobody had a contract for more than 2 years. And it's hard to be interested in long-term maintainability if you're forced out of the organization after 5 years when you finish your PhD. And in the company now, it's much easier to get people aligned. And I imagine at OP, people tend to stay longer than 2 or 5 years.
Not necessarily.
What's your thought on that?
Not necessarily, and that exactly. This is a paid question, I think, because this is spot on. I think that's the core reason. Because if you think that I just came, okay, there's this kind of technology, but I want to have this, and I don't think this maintenance. I don't think 10 years ahead. I'm just curious or interested on my life now. But that's, I think, really dangerous kind of thinking overall if we think a big company like us, because it leads to these problems. And that might actually be one of the reasons why we really need to stick with these alignments and platforms.
Thank you.
That's super interesting, because my backstory is that I was working at IBM. Too many processes, too many rules, unnecessary stuff. Started my own company, no rules. It was good for a certain period of time, but then when you need to actually maintain something, like a mess. And then
Exactly.
now it's kind of a balance between autonomy and kind of alignment.
Yeah.
But super interesting. There's a question behind you, Elmar, if you can throw it there. Thanks.
I need to press on?
No.
Hi, I'm Alessia from ABB. To continue the autonomy question, do you allow outside teams to contribute to the framework in form of
Yes.
developing their own libraries? And how do you support them on that?
there was this one library example. So there's a tooling to provide those, and then we ask them to make a pull request to us or for us, and then we help them to go forward from there.
Do you feel the effort kind of there is value in it? Like, because sometimes
Yes.
you feel that you provide more support to the people, then you actually get the value from it. So do you feel it worth it?
Well, over these years, if we wouldn't be able to provide the value as a platform, I would not think that I would have been able to show those figures that I was able to. On the other hand, I really would like to call more input from the business teams to help us and contribute. Maybe the challenge why we actually want to go through those kind of new add-ons is that teams tend to think themselves, but we need to think the whole company. So what we actually bring into the table with their idea is to help them make it in a way that it's reusable around the company.
Thank you.
So that's our job.
Let's take 2 more questions, one from there and then Rene.
The downside of alignment can be monoculture. And if you have a large organization, at what point do you think it makes absolute sense to say we don't put all eggs in one basket, but we have one, not one, but 2 or maybe even 3 aligned quality control methods so that if something fails, not everything goes down at once?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have the answer, unfortunately, to that. But I think that's a really valuable thing to think and keep in mind, because that's a risk. So we have many things on we rely on robot and so forth. But then again, there are, don't get me wrong, so there are teams that are using their own things. But we are not supporting them as strongly as those ones who are using the this platform. But then again, we try to maintain the platform in such a way that all the security things and innovations and so forth, we try to get in. Yeah, sorry, that's the best answer that I can give.
But what I think is important if you want to do that you have not all eggs in one basket, is also to know where the other baskets are and to still have that coordinated and documented and reachable.
Yeah, we actually, when there's a new tool, someone wants to use a new tool, we want to interview them and to see whether it brings something new, because of course we have limited capabilities. So we try to understand whether that tool or solution brings something new on the table that we need to bring that in. It might be the case, but quite often it's not, like JBehave or Cucumber against robot framework. So it doesn't necessarily make more sense that the language is different, but is that enough? I don't know. Because maybe this is, do I have time?
Yeah.
Cool. There's a lunch, anyone? Well, one thing about this Python that I've been thinking, we are Java house. But I think it might be interesting, I don't know how to prove this, but I have the belief, maybe, that it might make sense to test with a different language that you write the code. I don't know whether you guys think the same. Does that make any sense? But of course, it's really difficult to communicate to and get the kind of developers to understand that. But at least I think so that you are not doing the same mistakes. You are not using exactly the same buggy code maybe, but you have to rethink the functionality when you test it. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought because you also have Ruby on Rails Ruby projects inside OP, even though he didn't mention it.
We have most of this.
Yeah, and I think there's 2 levels. There's like a developer test, and then there's tester test.
This
and
was
those can
acceptance
be
test,
like basically, and especially if you're hiring someone to write the code for you, maybe you do it yourself. Rene,
Yeah.
quick question.
Quick question. Thank you for the talk. One quick question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Wasn't it so Tato Alto's now working for you? Wasn't it so that you also spend some work time to him so that he can maintain other open source projects?
Yeah.
Do you want to say some amount, or it's just? I think it's okay. You give them him some work time.
Yeah,
And
it varies.
Yeah.
It depends.
And I really want to encourage also others to support their people to contribute to open source, because I think OP is using browser library, of course, heavily, so that you have an own interest that it's supported. Yes. And also we had yesterday the talk from Daniel with Platin UI. I'm not sure if this came good on stage. There are 3 companies behind it throwing money in the bucket, but the tool is open source. And I think this is really something that companies could think about, also letting the people work for open source is also contributing back. So you don't have to pay necessarily, just give them their time to contribute. And this will all motivate and bring new ideas into the company.
Yeah, I think that's good. Sharing what we do is 1/3 of the time you can do whatever you want. It might be open source, it might be some internal tool you want to do or learn something new. I think that's good. And also open source can be paid. Like it might be a client task or feature. We'll add it also to the open source project and get money. Like everyone wins. That might be something. But hey, Tommy, super nice talk, interesting stuff, and you'll also be available in the Speakers Corner. Welcome to the team, and let's...
Thank you.